Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about the August 27th new moon in Virgo. In this video, I'm going to be telling you how I feel about the oncoming energy based on some of the other astrology transits happening, and we'll have a nice little dialogue about the way that the world is changing and the way that many lives are changing and shifting during this time. So yes, let's talk about this moon cycle and talk about what we're coming from as well. So we're coming from the super moon in Aquarius, which was a full moon that happened on August 11th. That has been waning ever since then, and then on August 27th, it will change lunar cycles to the new moon in Virgo. And yes, I think that it is going to be challenging for a lot of people because I do think there's a major winding down coming in. So going straight into the intuitive messages, there's an abundance of them really with this new moon in Virgo. I think that it looks like there is a winding down. It looks like dramatic, over-embellished, overextended, over-gassed aspects of life are eclipsing, and now there is a totally different lens, perspective, or more sizable or appropriate in size life experience coming in for a lot of people. So we've been talking since July about really condensing, conceding, compromising, and shaping up some of our life experiences so that they are more wieldable. And I think that this new moon in Virgo might be the first new moon this year where people are actually experiencing that, or people are actually feeling that change happening. So there's a big decrescendo in energy starting with this new moon in Virgo. And it's really important, I think, moving into this new moon as we come through the waning moon cycle through Cancer and Leo and leading up to the new moon, especially once the waning Cancer moon hits, we need to maybe reaffirm to ourselves what we don't have to face any longer, and perhaps congratulate ourselves or create some form of ritual even around what is no longer here and what perhaps will never return. So there's a big rite of passage coming through. I feel very much the Six of Swords energy in the tarot, which is very similar to Virgo, as Virgo is ruled by the number 6. It is the 6th sign of the zodiac. So I feel definitely Six of Swords, even Six of Wands actually, as well, as they're both similar energies. One is a little bit more of an emotionally charged psychological experience of passage, and one is more about confidence and stature within passage. So, this new moon in Virgo, it's going to go one way or the other for different people. Some people are going to be in Six of Wands, some people are going to be in Six of Swords, and I'll try to put those up on the screen so you guys can see the visuals and know what I'm talking about. But yes, which one of these images do you identify with more? Do you see coming into your life experience moving up towards the end of August? And is that okay with you? Do you need that more emotional, more kind of maybe hidden passage of Six of Swords? Do you need to kind of just like get out of there, or kind of pack a bag and go, or kind of move with the people who are supporting you into calmer waters? Or does the Six of Wands energy of standing tall, really regaling yourself with fine emblems of your own personal expression and kind of processing through the next gateway, strong and formidable? Which one of those archetypes do you identify with? And think about both of them, and think about how similar they are, as they both kind of denote a passage, or they both kind of denote a movement from one location to another, and they both start to begin an ending phase. So the 6 in the tarot is never going to be the end of a story, but it starts that transformative transitional process into that ending phase. And I think that as we hit September of 2022, we're all going to be kind of realizing how things are wrapping up and what is wrapping up in our life experience, and how much more things might be wrapping up than we believed. I'm feeling that a lot of people, even during this new moon in Virgo, have a realization, and it's a very logical kind of logical mind realization, where they're like, okay, the momentum is behind me, or I can just kind of ride out the rest of this story and not really have a hard time and not really worry that much about what's coming now. So for a lot of people, the hard work is done, and they can now enjoy their own presence within the end of a cycle. So yes, I think that this goes really well in tandem with what we were talking about last week with the grand fixed cross and the Saturn-Uranus squares, with those moving into their final phase as well. That ability to have as much of your own time and to really be able to be in the present moment and feel the way the currents are moving of your own life is going to be very important as we hit this new moon in Virgo, because it will set up very strong Earth trines with the Virgo season oncoming, Pluto in Capricorn, and a Uranus in the North Node in Taurus. So that connection to the Earth, the energy that it creates. Some people, for example, can feel earthquakes before they come on. In fact, there could be earthquakes during this Virgo season even, because of the very strong Earth energy and Uranus and Pluto being the outer planets that are connecting to that with the inner planets in Virgo. It's a very strong recipe for earthquakes. So also symbolically, so the ground that you walk on, the foundation that you've been on changing, perhaps shaking, perhaps not being as still as it used to be, and basically a new formation or a new kind of ground or a new kind of solid plane that you're walking on being shaped or being formed in the coming time. So that's important to prepare for. So especially for those of us who are very attached or connected to things being a certain way and things being so stable. I don't think this is going to be the most stable feeling Virgo energy. I feel this Virgo energy, because of Uranus and Pluto connecting by trine, to be much more of a catalyst kind of Virgo energy, to be much more of a warrior Virgo energy, which is one of the archetypes of Virgo, the Virago, the mythology behind that. It was also that way last year as well. So we have kind of 2 Virgo seasons in a row, I think, that are very much getting to the heart and even piercing a certain long-running, stabilized or even stagnant way or energy form, and making it inevitable for that to change. So it's very likely that even by August 27th, so even a few days prior to that everything has changed for a lot of people. So as I'm filming this, as you're getting this, if you're getting this early or before the new moon, it's important to really be regimented in a way where you can be available for unexpected events or available for surprises, available to show up places on a whim, and available to make budgetary or time management changes quickly, as I think that could be happening for a lot of people when this new moon hits. It's like a mutable earth energy, right? Virgo is a mutable earth sign. So that is like the energy of earthquakes. It's the energy of land changing. So like land ownership could change during this time. Also, there could be new lands discovered or shifts in certain policies regarding land ownership or regarding what is like public or private land that could really change up during this time, just as a, mundane message. Also borders, borders for anything. So private land borders, national borders, anything like that could also be very front and center with this new moon in Virgo, especially being that it's going to be trining Uranus and Pluto. And then I think at a more personal level, like what are your personal borders, your personal boundaries? I think people's personal boundaries are really changing up during this time. They want to have changes there as well. Maybe people who have been more isolated or more kept to themselves want more connection with others, and also vice versa. So it's not a very nice intercession of time to be very attached to any kind of very specific idea or to be attached to things having to be one way or another. That would be very difficult during this time, because I think the only guarantee during this new moon and during Virgo season altogether is some kind of quite drastic change in, physical standards or physical proximities, borders, or boundaries. That seems to be very different. Also, there's an opportunity here on the positive side of that to kind of resurvey the physicality of your life. So how are my proportions, on my body? What are the borders of my physical property as well? Like if you own property, if you have a house, or if you have land or anything like that, maybe seeing what those borders are could be good during this time. Has that changed? Is it what you think it is? And also, anything that shapes or gives definition or gives a certain impression based on its geometry, really. It's a very geometrical time. I feel, when we think about sacred geometry, when we think about the sacred geometry of the body and of the earth as well, I feel that there could be discoveries made during this time. So new discoveries within the geometrical study or within the science of geometry could have an expansion or evolution, or perhaps people want to study that or are more interested in that now. So there's maybe more hypothetical, more like new hypotheses about geometry or about shapes or about physics as well. So quantum physics, yes, but also maybe measurements. So like when we're thinking like how many miles is a mass of land, or how many what is the length? There's a measurement, there's a remeasuring during this time, and perhaps a different, even maps, like new maps could be drawn, and certain land masses could be different, or could be shaped differently, or given a different scale. It's a rescaling also. So you might kind of take some time to survey your life, or to map out your life, thinking about what you have, thinking about what you're holding on to. What is the map of your life? What locations are you in? What locations are you claiming? Do they support you at a regional level? Is there common ground between you and the people that you're around also? Like, do you have a good relationship with the other people in your proximity, in your location? I feel that that's very important to survey during this time as well. So it's not just about, land, or about, locations, or about the physicality. It's also about the alchemy of, I think, the relationships on it. So the direction that certain geographies are going because of the way that people are relating to each other, and what those extremes are like, because it could be very polarized, right? Especially, really all over the world right now with all of the transits. But, we have a Pluto return in the US, and it's at like the last degrees of Capricorn. So this whole idea of where people are, how they're relating to each other geographically and in their locations, certainly throughout human history, has always been a very, it's like the basis of a lot of decision making in human history. But I feel that maybe takes on a more ancient way, or there's maybe a resurgence, or a resurgence of more ancient consciousness regarding how people connect to each other in their proximities and in their general locations. So it's maybe like a pre-industrial revolution kind of way that people might be feeling or expressing their consciousness. So that could even lend itself to kind of a feudal kind of system, or it's probably not going to be like that, but it would be not a repetition of that, but it could evoke that, or it could kind of feel like that, or there could be a similar energy or just consciousness or feeling that many people haven't felt since then. So like pre-1800, consciousness could be coming back through now. And really, like even like 16th century stuff, like Renaissance stuff, is very liable to be coming in now too. So with that in mind, I think there's a lot of intrigue. I think there's a lot of also new discoveries and new innovations that are in the wings, but not quite yet expressed. And this new moon in Virgo, and this sort of juncture that we're seeing, and if we think archetypally within the lens of the tarot, Six of Swords versus Six of Wands, I think that is going to be a way that a lot of people are channeling that. So moving forward, changing things in their lives, transitioning their lives into different expression points in similar ways that those archetypes are expressed through the tarot. And maybe discovering something that they never dreamed they could, or discovering a certain eccentricity, or discovering a certain renaissance that they haven't been able to see before. So this is especially poignant, I think, for people who can't really define themselves, or people who fit into so many different categories and can't really be defined. There's a new kind of definition, sociological definition, really coming in as well, mirrored by the changes in survey, or the changes in mapping, the changes in earthly geography as well, that might be queuing up now. But yes, moving on from the intuitive messages and talking about the astrology around this new moon. So first of all, it's not connecting that much to the outer planets. So we're going to get a very essential kind of new moon in Virgo. And of course, once it transits up and gets later in degree, within like a day or two, it will trine Pluto and Uranus and contact with the outer planets more. But the exact point of the new moon, when it's exactly new, is around 4 degrees of Virgo. And it squares Mars and quincunxes Jupiter. But other than that, it's not really hitting the outer planets at all. So I think it's a very good opportunity to reassess boundaries, to make new routines, to look at the small stuff. That's another thing that I'm feeling with this new moon in Virgo, is it is a decrescendo away from this huge, grandiose, like, fireworks in the sky, dramatic music playing, huge transformations happening in a very climactic way. While that is going to be in for quite a while longer, this gives us a little break or a little respite from that. And it does, I think, put us back into our safe place or into our safer zone. And it starts asking very small questions about the fit of different things in our life and the fitness of us as well to experience what we're queuing up for us. So there's going to be a big focus on fitness. Okay, this could be physical fitness, mental fitness. This could be also, the fitness of certain relationships as well, and how they are being built back up, or how they're being contributed to still. So Virgo energy, as it is an earth sign, it's a mutable earth sign. And the way that the earth plane works is it's kind of a routine, cyclic, seasonal way of momentum. So we have to really look at the seasonality of our own life. And I talked a lot about this in the Supermoon and Aquarius video. But if we're not watering a plant, it may not survive. We have to think about, okay, what am I contributing to? What am I giving my energy to? And what am I also expecting to be a certain way without actually working with it or without actually contributing to it? Some people thinking that, wow, I should have this super successful business, but I don't at all comply with the norms of that industry, yet I'm expecting it to be really huge and big. I see a lot of people asking themselves crazy existential questions about, why aren't I bigger? Why isn't my business bigger? Why isn't my career growing? Why aren't I succeeding on like a social media platform or something like that? Meanwhile, they haven't even like researched like what the norms of that is, like, with, I don't know, social media. That's what I do, like thumbnails and tags and SEO and things like that. People without even ever, looking into anything like that ask these very existential questions when it's a very, very simple solution. And it isn't rocket science at all. It's all very physical. It's all very norm-based. It's all very, really laid out in black and white, like exactly how to fix any of these problems that you might have. So I would definitely see that as a great positive aspect of this new moon. It's like, wow, I was getting so in my head about why things weren't going the way I wanted them to. But look, it's just literally laid out in black and white exactly how to do better. And then there's like a lot of people also who are like, but I don't want to do that stuff. Like that stuff is not maybe feeling right to me. And then that's the bigger that is the big question, isn't it? Like, do we want to be in an industry with which we don't comply with those norms? Okay, this is kind of harsh stuff. This is very Virgo stuff, norms, regulations, fine print stuff, methods and tactics for success that are tried and true, especially as it does approach that trine with Pluto and Capricorn. It is a difficult and sensitive point that I think a lot of people are in, where they're like, okay, I do want to do it different. I want to have my own spin on something. I want to be kind of a pioneer or a trendsetter, And that is a big question right now, with the Aquarius energy as well. So it's kind of like, I don't know, accepting a certain result as okay based on whether you want a conventional or unconventional outcome. But basically with the new moon in Virgo, it's going to really make it easier for us to understand why something has the current status that it does. And we don't have to freak ourselves out about it. We don't have to ask, what am I doing wrong? Because I'm seeing a lot of people who are being very mean to themselves about why they're not more successful. Again, this earth trine coming in, asking these material questions, asking these hierarchical questions as well. And it's going to be a big test, I think, for people to hype themselves back up and to not succumb to any type of insecurity about their current place or about how well they've done in their industry or in their material life. I think that so many people will transcend a lot just by loving the progress that they have made, regardless of the comparison factor, or regardless of where they think they should be anyway. Something that I've noticed, something that I've observed in a lot of people that I've worked with over the years who have struggled with not being satisfied with how far they've come, or wanting to, really get a lot further than they currently are. Something about that prevents itself, so like as you're dissatisfied with your current progress, you prevent the actual crossing of that threshold. Oftentimes people have to become completely okay with where they currently are to free themselves up enough in order to step into that next growth cycle. And that's what a lot of people are asking during this new moon in Virgo is, what is the next growth cycle for me? And that is a question that can be answered through not being too hung up, okay, through not being too mad at yourself or other people, really, about where you currently are. And a way to do that practically is one, to kind of step away from comparison, yes, but also to acknowledge the different sizes of things in nature as well. Like you have all different sizes in scaling in nature, different sizes of plants, different sizes of land masses. Like that's part of this plane. And you can't really say that one is better than the other because it's bigger. We kind of get into that human prideful place where it's like bigger is better and size matters and all of that kind of stuff, which is reinforced by certain economic systems as well. So that's underpinning all of this. And I think this new moon in Virgo is a great chance to maybe value smaller things more, okay? Or to value more wieldable, more compromised things as well. Compromised is a weird word because when I use it in that context, it makes it seem as if it's injured, or if it's like something compromised, it's something that's not good enough. It's something that has been messed up in some way. But compromise is an important thing right now as well, okay? And thinking astrologically about this new moon in Virgo, have the fact that it's exactly square Mars, right? I think that a lot of people do have a size crisis here, or a lot of people have a kind of comparison crisis as well. Like, oh my God, I'm not doing as good as that other person, and it's like keeping me up at night, or the revenue in my business is not good enough, it's keeping me up at night. Or even like my motivation or my inability to perceive like the next point in my path is not coming through, and I am upset at myself for not knowing what comes next. There's a lot of, psychological thriller energy that comes in with a Mars square moon, and it's going to be a test for a lot of people. Can I feel safe, calm, and happy with my momentum the way that it is, and can I honor that? And that will help us to transcend this moon square Mars coming in. Also with the quincunx to Jupiter, so Mars and Jupiter energy are not moving well with this new moon in Virgo. So it's so much kind of a debilitation, or a feeling of debilitation within direct forward motion or progress. So direct outward movement, also with this grand fixed cross on August 15th, seems like a very frustrating place for a lot of people. I think it's better to offset this with being proud or happy with what just naturally is in your life, and how light it might be, how maybe less heavy it is, because that's the blessing of this new moon in Virgo, is like really not having as much heavy stuff on your plate, not having as much density, cracking down on density, being lighter, okay? Not being as heavy, not being as stuck. And there's going to be natural progress that comes in because of that. But also, some people, when they downsize their house, have a hard time with that because they think it makes them look less wealthy, or they're not doing as well. And then it's like a downsizing energy. It's like a minimizing energy, but people have so much more because of it. But the Jupiter quincunx and the Mars square is like, but why didn't we upsize? Why didn't we get a bigger house? Why didn't we get a better paying job? Why didn't we make a new business? And there's this kind of like almost childlike tantrum that I think can happen for some people with this new moon in Virgo. It's like, I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get something bigger. I didn't get more. What the heck happened there? Even though I'm so much more liberated or free now, having some of this stuff off of my back, I'm just upset to feel like I have less in any way. And I think that this new moon in Virgo is really trying to teach us, where at what times and in what categories is less really more? There's a big less is more feeling with this next cycle coming on, and the emotional conflicts and the kind of erratic mercurial despondence that a lot of people are starting to evoke because of not being distracted from themselves anymore is the testing point that we're moving into for the entire Virgo season, I believe. You know, when you have less to do, when you have less distractions, when you don't have that distracting abusive relationship, when you don't have that distracting abusive business, when you don't have that distracting abusive job, what then is the question that we're looking at now. And for those of you who have been in the no distractions phase since about, I mean, some of you even reaching back to like 2017, even like 2019 or 2020 did it for a lot of people as well. But here we have, for people who still haven't had that, another push. It's a big global energetic movement, getting people undistracted, getting people, you know, facing less distractions so that they can really work with their own internal energy. And this new moon in Virgo is another wave of that. So I want to prepare you all for that. It's a beautiful thing. It can be hard at first because some people do go through withdrawals, you know, withdrawals from not being able to spend as much, withdrawals from not having access to that abusive narcissist, withdrawals from not having, you know, some kind of motion to fulfill that they were always complaining about anyway. You know, like this is kind of the human nature. The human body does like repetition. It likes patterns because that's how it creates muscle memory. The brain has a craving to create muscle memory. And when that muscle memory gets threatened, the body does take that as a threat to the entire body. So that could be happening for a lot of people. There is a threat to the old muscle memory. There is a threat to the old energetic muscle memory. But that is ultimately being a gift to help us to not be distracted and to work with our own true soul energy without it being steered, distracted, or wielded by other people, or just kind of existing on the sideline. So anyway, everyone, I'm going to leave you with that note. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out my channel on Patreon. I'll link it below. I do premium content over there that's only available over there. I do weekly forecasts called T-Chats where I talk about the week ahead. And I talk about any transits or intuitive messages that are coming up. And it's only available on Patreon. And I also do the monthly forecasts early and ad-free over there. It's a great way to support this channel. It is how this channel is possible. So be sure to check that out. Also, if you're new, be sure to hit the subscribe button below, thumbs up the video, and comment. Those are great free ways to support this channel. And I have a lot of other information in the description box. I have a mailing list. I have some helpful links. So be sure to check that out if you get the chance. Anyway, everyone, enjoy this new moon. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great week. Much love. Bye.